So hard. No, would you give me 1 minute? I do. That's not what I'm going to have to. This is 19-year-old Lindy Jones, who's facing charges for murder in South Carolina. In August 2019, Lindy murdered 18-year-old Willie Antoine Fields following investigations. Lindy Jones and his younger brother Jalen Jones, with Lindy Jones arrested now in court. The mother of the victim, Angela Fields, has some words for Lindy. I just want to let you know what they took from me. They took away my only child, my only child, so hard her husband Willie Clay Fields was consoling. But suddenly he couldn't bear the pain anymore. It's been so hard, sir. Back off, sir. The officers eventually managed to separate him from Lindy. Music. Eventually Lindy was sentenced to 35 years in prison, and his brother Jane received a 6-year sentence in juvenile prison. But this wasn't the only time families snapped in court, like in the case of Diamond Alvarez, Diamond's mother, who's in court for the trial of 19-year-old Frank Dylan Jr., who fatally shot their 16-year-old daughter 22 times on January 11th, 2023. Diamond was walking Frank DeLeon Jr., her dog, when Frank fatally shot her. Police investigations revealed that the two had been in a relationship and were on the verge of a breakup. Frank was promptly arrested. If you thought Frank would show remorse for his crimes, prepared for his jaw-dropping conduct during proceedings in court, Diamond's mother tells the man who had wickedly ended her daughter's life how she felt as she was giving her statement. Frank smirked at her enraged. Diamond's mother went to confront him, but before she could make it to the smirking murder, the situation escalated. Diamond's uncle jumped in from the gallery and attacked Frank. Frank's mother rushed to his defense by attacking Diamond's mother, prompting Diamond's aunt to go after her. Eventually, the police were able to separate the two families following the brawl. Diamond's mother told the media, "Was wrong of me, that was wrong of us, because we're not monsters, but so much hate because I want my daughter back. And what he did wasn't it was horrible seeing my daughter there and looking at him that he did that, and he's laughing in my face. It was very wrong, and I'm so sorry for that." In the end, Frank accepted a plea deal and was sentenced to 45 years in prison. Fortunately, deputies were ready and stepped in before utter chaos ensued. But the same can't be said for the case of 25-year-old Tristan Lero, who's facing charges for first-degree murder in Utah. On August 23rd, 2009, Tristan shot his wife, 19-year-old Misty Lamro, in their house. Tristan was eventually arrested. Now in court, Misty's brother Jason Wilson walks up to the podium to deliver a victim impact statement, but not before giving Tristan the death stare. While the magnitude of Tristan's crimes is daunting, his courtroom behavior will leave you in disbelief. While Jason tells the court how the murder has affected him, Tristan appears unconcerned, rocking back and forth in his chair. After a few minutes of addressing the judge, Jason turns his focus to his sister's killer, but Tristan's lack of remorse infuriated him, and he wanted to let him know how he felt. Music. However, the deputies were at hand to counter any real damage. Following the chaos, the officers restored everything to order. Eventually, Tristan was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. However, Jason Wilson wasn't alone in their courtroom actions, like in the case of Michael Madison, a serial killer who was facing multiple charges, including 3 counts of murder in Ohio between 2012 and 2013. Michael killed 3 women before he was eventually arrested. Before his preliminary hearing, Michael learns the magnitude of his crime. Mr. Madison, I'm going to read to you the nature of the charges against you and summarize each one for you, as well as giving you the potential penalties. I know you've had a chance to speak with counsel. Is that correct, sir? Yes. All right. In the first charge, you're charged with aggravated murder in violation of Ohio Revised Code 290. 3.15 day of July, you did purposely cause the death of an unidentified female. While committing another felony, the offense was committed 1 week to 9 months prior to the finding of the body. That is a Jane Doe murder. The second murder is the same date. On about the 22nd day of July, Michael Madison did purposely cause the death of Angela Deskins while committing another felony. The offense was committed 3 weeks or a few weeks prior to the finding of the body. And then there's a third murder charge on about the 22nd day of July. Michael Madison did purposely cause the death of an unidentified female. While committing another felony, the offense was committed 1 week to 1 month prior to finding the body. All of those are felonies of the first degree. Because they are aggravated murder, they are punishable by a possible death or life in prison and a $100,000 fine. Do you understand that you're now in court? Van Terry, the father of one of the victims, addresses the judge. I do as be. Right now, I guess opposed to in our hearts, forgive this clown Van Terry now. turns to speak directly to Michael taking my child. However, the real shocker came when Michael unleashes madness in the courtroom by smirking at Van Terry, unleashing applause. Chaos. Eventually, the police were able to restore order, and the proceeding continued. Now it's time for the jury to give their decision. We therefore unanimously find that the sentence of death should be imposed upon the defendant, Michael Madison. Following the jury's recommendation, Judge Nancy McDonald reads her sentence. I am struck by the sheer inhumanity of what one human being can do to not one but three human beings. It is incomprehensible you could Joel Lord and deceased Chatia She Angela Deskins and Charilla Terry to your apartment for your depraved purposes. You went on to abuse the corpses of these three victims. You stripped them from the waist down. You folded them in half, binding them so that their feet were up by their ears. You wrapped them in multiple layers of trash bags, and you discarded them. Upon consideration of the relevant evidence, the testimony, exhibits admitted in mitigation, it is a judgment of this court that the aggravated circumstances of course of conduct, felony murder, kidnapping, felony murder rape, of which the defendant was convicted, outweigh the mitigating factors by proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Accordingly, the sentence of death is imposed upon the defendant, Michael Madison, on counts 1, 4, and 7. Following the sentence, the victims' families expressed how they felt. Michael Madison is still awaiting his death in prison, but this wasn't the only time parents snapped because of how the killer was acting in court, like during the sentencing of 18-year-old Peter Njenet, who's facing multiple charges for murder. Oh my God, he shot so many people in there on May 14th, 2022, Pete. A white supremacist opened fire, and Peyton Gendron of the black-dominated Tops Friendly Market store in New York. Sadly, 10 black individuals lost their lives, and 3 others were hurt before he was finally arrested. Now in court, family members of the victims let him know how they feel about him. While I was writing this, tears fell from my eyes, thinking about what a beautiful person you took my daughter, Robbie Jury. Was a young woman. She was not married. She had no children. She never. Well, Robbie was our youngest daughter. When people ask how, many children do you have? I don't know what to say. You destroy our lives forever. It's not a day that goes by that I won't remember. May 14th. And being 2 minutes sooner, I could have been in that store. And all I think about is, could I have saved my aunt? Could I have helped her get away from the bullets? Or could my mom be suffering more and lose her daughter, her granddaughter, and her sister? One of the most touching statements was from Barbara Massey. My name is Barbara Massey. I'm Calm Massey's sister. You killed my sister, Kat. Was an aunt, she was a great aunt, she was a cousin, she was a friend, Kat. Said she was committed one. There's nothing Kat wouldn't do for people. I want personally to choke you and leave my fingerprints on your neck, because it was unnecessary. You leave 200 miles to come to Buffalo. You don't even know any black people. I want you better think those places. You better say, cops, thank you all for protecting me, because I will hurt. You so bad you have made me sick. You got my family crying. I miss my sister every day. You don't like black people, man. You don't know a damn thing about black people. We're human. We like our kids to go to good schools. We love our kids. However, while she was speaking, supposed family member wanted to let PTA know. He felt we never go in no neighborhoods and take people out, don't do music. And luckily, the police were able to calm the music situation. Now it's Peyton's turn to speak. I'm very sorry for the pain I forced the victims and their families to suffer through. I'm very sorry for stealing the lives of your loved ones. I cannot express how much I regret all the decisions I made leading up to my actions on May 14th. I did a terrible thing that day. I shot and killed people because they were black. Looking back now, I can't believe I actually did it. I believe what I read online and acted out of hate. I know I can't take it back, but I wish I could, and I don't want anyone to be inspired by me. And what I did be eventually, the judge reads her sentence. The damage you have caused is too great, and the people you have hurt are too valuable to this community. You will never see the light of day as a free man ever again. It is the judgment of this court for your conviction under the first count of the indictment, a domestic act of terrorism motivated by hate in the first degree, an A1 felony, that you be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. Piton was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, but this wouldn't be the last time a parent lunged at the perpetrator in court. Take, for example, the case of Larry Nassar, who was facing multiple charges for sexual abuse. Larry was a sports doctor at Michigan State University and with USA.